Coming up, WWE releases a number of Performance Center staff and NXT talent turned coaches in what seems to be a purge of the Triple H era team. Plus, Luke is going to be reviewing AEW Dynamite, so subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss out on any wrestling news in future.
Support WrestleTalk!
Now, if you thought the Bron Breakker kicking apart the old NXT X logo on New Year's Evil was some sort of ham-fisted metaphor, you're gonna love this. Because it's not a metaphor anymore, because not one day later WWE literally decided to snap apart the old brand by releasing a number of Performance Center staffers and coaches. News started rumbling on social media as Fightful and PW Insider reported that releases were inbound, and as usual the names began to eventually trickle in. Producer Scott Armstrong, writers George Carroll and Ryan Katz, coaches Ace Steel and Kathy Carino, and Dave Kapoor aka Ranjin Singh were all given the heave-ho. And even more surprisingly, Road Dogg, Brian James, and William Regal, the on-screen general manager of NXT, were also reportedly released. Fightful Select reported that no internal message was sent out highlighting the names or the reasoning for the NXT departures, i.e. no John Laurinaitis budget cuts email. He just grows fat off the souls of the fallen in silence. But WWE did release a statement to Fightful and PW Insider saying, with the continued evolution of NXT 2.0, we've decided to part ways with some of the staff based in our Performance Center. We thank them for their many contributions throughout the years and wish them the best. Which is kind of a doubling down on the new direction that NXT 2.0 has begun to move in, and backstage talent and staff spoken to by Fightful unanimously said that this move is to directly remove Triple H hires, with Road Dogg and Regal being key examples of Triple H guys. In the case of Big Willie Riggs, it was said that most thought that he would be exempt from the cuts whatever happened, but that has obviously turned out to not be the case. So long, NXT Dad. You were the best authority figure in modern WWE, and you say war games better than anyone else. And sadly, it doesn't stop there either, with some other names that didn't escape the chopping block, with Senior Vice President of Consumer Products Sarah Cummins reported by Mike Johnson at PW Insider as also having been released. And Fightful confirmed that Timothy Thatcher, Hatchiman, and Danny Burch had also all been released from their NXT contracts. Ouch. Now, both Thatcher and Burch have been working behind the scenes as coaches and had been concentrating on that since being off television recently. An interesting note from Fightful Select report said that WWE indicated to them that no talent would be included in the cut, so this shows that the company now viewed Thatcher and Burch in a very different light since they stopped appearing on TV regularly. Fightful had also been told that there were no creative plans in the works for Thatcher or Burch. Hence the release. But in the case of Hachiman, Hideki Suzuki, that makes even less sense because he's been appearing as an on-screen performer with Diamond Mine on a near weekly basis. Consistent stuff, WWE. Fightful also briefly spoke to Scotty 2 Hottie, who said that he wasn't surprised after hearing the news and had seen the writing on the wall, which is why he left the company last month. So really, it's new year, new NXT, same old depressing WWE. I do hope that everyone who lost their job is doing okay and finds their feet elsewhere in the wrestling business if that is what they desire. And I guess, for good or ill, if this was a move to remove the last vestiges of Triple H influence in NXT 2.0, now we are at least going to see the complete bold new vision for the brand. And if it fails, there is no one left to blame, and if it succeeds, then maybe this was the correct move, but only time's gonna tell. Over to Luke now for the Dynamite review.
Thank you for your support on Patreon. Ryan Disco Stewart and Superkick Nick Mazesco. Get your own bumper shoutouts over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. It's Wednesday, you know what that means. AEW have switched to a new network and stacked the card with 3 title matches. A few days before a show that's literally about title matches. The first of which was the highly anticipated rematch between Bryan Danielson and Wangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship. Now, I know there were a few people that didn't quite get on with the first match they had at Winter is Coming. A lot of people, maybe most, thought that it was one of the best matches of the year and one of the best matches in AEW Dynamite history. There were some, however, like Ollie Davis for example, who didn't think that it matched up to the hype, particularly because it wasn't the big decisive win that Wangman needed to establish himself as the world champion, the face of AEW. I can honestly see both sides of the argument. Personally, I loved the match, but I also wanted to see Wangman win. man. I also don't think that AEW effectively followed up on the story beats of that match and outcome. Hangman struggling with his self-belief that he might not actually be good enough to be the champion, for example. But in fairness, that's only because they had 2 weeks to build this match, and one of those weeks was Christmas. With all of that said, this match ruled. And I do think a major part of that, and where Tony Khan's genius lays perhaps, is because of that time limit draw a few weeks ago. This episode opened with the AEW Championship match, just like they did at Winter is Coming. And they had the judges at ringside just in case of a tie. Apart from loading the rest of the card with big matches and angles that were going to be given time, AEW did everything they could to make you think this was also going to go the distance. And while that match started at 10 miles an hour, this one started at 100. Page knew that he had Danielson beat at the end of their time limit draw with the buckshot, so came out swinging for the rematch, and the Dragon used that momentum against him to target the arm and remove that lariat from his arsenal. Both men juiced, both men hit hard, and both men used headbutts like Baron Corbin uses rest holds. They did a lot of them is what I'm saying. This wasn't a match. This was a fight, but there was still wrestling within that fight, with both men reversing big moves, Page escaping the label lock and kicking out of the Psycho knee, and the most incredible of visuals of Danielson crumpling to the floor from blood loss as Page went for the buckshot lariat. A brilliant echo of the Okada Omega Rainmaker spot. And it was all about that buckshot, with Page hitting one at about the 29-minute mark to score the win. Danielson's first loss in AEW and Page's first big win as AEW champion. This was wrestling perfection. For my money, it was better than Winter is Coming, it was better than Hangman Omega at Full Gear, and I also think it was better than Grand Slam. I freaking loved this match, and it was just the start of this freaking awesome show. MJF took on Captain Shawn Dean in a match that never actually happened, because CM Punk ran down and hit a GTS on Dean for the DQ. Boo! DQ finishes, boo! But wait, this is a DQ finish that makes sense. Just like Can They Coexist, a certain other company has made us think that this is a bad story beat because it's done so much with little innovation, point, or merit. This was done for a reason. Punk getting MJF DQ'd means that Maxwell is starting off 2022 with a 0-1 record. He's got a loss against his name, and he will have that now for the rest of this year and the rest of his AEW career. The two men had an amazing promo battle afterwards, with some lovely references to Punk's lack of WrestleMania main events, and a match was made for next week between Punk and Wardlow, who then killed a lad with about 11 powerbombs. Yeah, good luck, Punk. Chris Jericho in his newly dyed hair came out for a promo against 2.0 where he made some South Park references, which I think are still relevant in 2022, and Eddie Kingston, Santana and Ortiz ran down to make the save when Daniel Garcia and 2.0 attacks him. Jake Atlas got a great hype video, which doubly sucks as he reportedly picked up an injury from his Rampage match with Adam Cole, who also cut a promo with his not disputed buddies. And in the finals of the TBS tournaments, which I think started in 2015, Jade Cargill beat Ruby Soho with an Avalanche Jaded. The crowd did their best to get into this, but it was far from the best match in the tournament. And the crowd audibly reacted louder to Thunder Rosa running down to attack Mercedes Martinez than a lot of the in-ring action. Look, I think it's great that they put the title on Jade, as that was clearly the plan from the very start of this tournament, and it shows a huge amount of confidence that AEW has in one of their youngest and most promising stars. But she's only been wrestling for 11 months, and sometimes that shows. She's now going to have to learn on the job as champion and face of that division. Thankfully, she's Jade Carter that will most likely be able to do that. Soho later brawled with Britt Baker, with Riho also getting involved. Malachi Black beat Brian Pillman Jr., and the Lucha Bros came out after the match to get their revenge for Pac. The lights went out and the crowd started chanting for the debut of Brody King, but nothing actually happened. The lights also went out in the main event, but this was put over on commentary as a mistake, and is likely just more foreshadowing of the eventual debut of Malachi's King of the Black Throne partner. That main event of Lucha Bros vs Jurassic Express was also a terrific match, slightly marred by its finish, with the chemistry between all four men, Phoenix and Jungle Boy in particular, being absolute magic. This felt like a PWG match meets AEW, with all the fun spots and ignoring of the tag rules that you'd expect, and a heavily overbooked schmoz finish. The lights went out as Lucha Bros were setting up for their tag finish. Rey Fenix got chokeslammed through a table so hard he legit broke his arm, and Jungle Boy got a shock roll-up on Penta to get the win and the tag titles. So we really delayed that Santana and Ortiz versus Lucha Bros match for no reason in the end, didn't we? All joking aside, best wishes from us here at WrestleTalk to Rey Fenix, and here's to a speedy recovery. It was a terrifying visual and a reminder that these people put their bodies on the line for our enjoyment and entertainment. Please put your love for Rey Fenix in the comments down below. He is so awesome and deserves your love. Moving that to one side though, it was a superb match and a superb end to a superb episode of Dynamite. I know Ollie Davis is the curmudgeon round here with his constant 4 out of 5s for great episodes of Dynamite, but I've got to give the people what they want. This episode of Dynamite was all elite, 5 out of 5.
Because here comes Von Wagner. Oh my god.
Von Wagner, you say? That's not what he called himself. Man messed up his own name. We're like, you people come out here to see Von Wagner.